I could not be more honored to be joined by Ravi Annavajjhala, CEO of Kinara AI. Welcome, Ravi.
Thank you, Justin. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And before we jump into things, I always like to give people a platform to introduce themselves. Could you give our audience who isn't familiar with you a little bit about you?
Like you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Kinara.ai, and I'm an exec in the semiconductor industry. I've spent almost 3 decades in this industry. Started my career at Intel, spent almost 2 decades at Intel. I was also at SanDisk as a senior exec, where I ran strat planning and biz dev for a large couple of billion business unit. Post that, I've been with Kinara for the last 9 years, and I've enjoyed every part of this journey. And of course, most of the viewers may know that NXP recently announced its intent to acquire Kinara. So we are awaiting closure of the deal, awaiting government and regulatory approvals to come through. And once they do, we'll become an integral part of NXP.
Ravi, long before you became CEO of Kinara, you were an engineer, and you're an engineer at heart. Was there an aha moment in your life where you knew that you wanted to become an engineer?
So what I would say, Justin, is that there was not one aha moment. It sort of goes back to my high school years. I was living in India then. I grew up in India. And, like many other students, I had to choose my career path fairly early. It was in the 10th grade and what you'd call sophomore year here. And I happened to be pretty good at math. And the second thing was that I enjoyed tinkering, meaning I enjoyed building things. We did not have Lego blocks then, like most people do and my kids do. And we had something called as Meccano. I had something called as Meccano. My uncle from US got it for me. And I enjoyed working on it, and I spent tons of hours on it. I guess those were the foundational moments that led me to becoming an engineer.
Excellent. And that time of being an engineer, for a decade plus, you were a design engineering leader, and then you decided to get your MBA from Wharton. Was there a specific catalyst for making that decision?
So I was at Intel, like you said, like I mentioned, and I spent 2 decades, and half of the time I was in engineering at Intel. I started my career at Intel. I learned the ropes at Intel. But when I started off, I didn't know much about business. And over the years, I got interested in how products were built and how they could be used by customers, right? So it was interesting for me to make that transition, growing from engineer to becoming a marketing exec. And one thing led to another, and I got interested in various aspects, including finance, marketing, and sales. And I felt that systematically learning this would help me rise in my career and become a business leader. And I would say that was the catalyst, right around the time I transitioned from engineering to business and wanting to learn more about business and my aspiration to become a business leader.
Excellent. And we're going to talk about a wide-ranging topics, and some of it will be hindsight, since the company, as you mentioned, is in the middle of a successful sell to NXP. But if we're to go back a ways in the journey at Kinara.ai, do you remember what the vision was when you first joined as VP of Business Development?
Yeah, so our original vision, and you have to take the clock back about a decade, was that GPUs were very inefficient for running AI models, both from a power standpoint and a cost standpoint. But that was simply not enough. This is something that we realized early on that many of our competitors didn't realize, was that the software and the flexibility of the architecture were equally important compared to the efficiency of the processor itself. When I say efficiency, it's the performance per dollar and performance per watt. So in edge AI, all these three things become supremely important, because you cannot have multi-$1,000 GPUs running at the edge, and these cannot be 30-watt, 50-watt products. You have to be much lower power, much more efficient, much more cost-effective. So one part of the vision was obviously that. The second part of the vision, which I touched on, which is the efficiency, which is the flexibility piece of it. So you have to have a flexible architecture built in silicon that can take any AI model, married with a compiler stack or a SDK stack, that can take any AI model, not just models of today, but models of the future, and be able to compile them and run them on our processor. So this was not very evident then, because the AI workloads a decade ago were only a handful. You had ResNet and maybe VGG and AlexNet and a few others, right? But we knew that these workloads are going to get more complex. The AI models are going to get bigger, and your software stack was going to be equally important. And your software stack is going to be the driver of your hardware. So these were the two pieces of vision that we started with. One, efficiency, and B, marrying that efficiency with a great degree of flexibility and a software stack that can adapt to not just today's AI models, but models of the future. And we kept true to that vision, and we are happy because we have emerged a leader in terms of running today's AI models and also set up for tomorrow's AI models. We are one of the few companies that are able to run LLMs and generative AI models on our processor at the edge, in addition to the CNN models, the vision models that are out there.
Got it. And so obviously at a point along that journey, you transitioned from VP of Business Development to CEO. And so while the vision may have remained the same, how you get there changed, or maybe some of the vision changed. Can you share with our audience a little bit about the vision transition, or at least the way to get to that vision?
So I would say that we didn't veer from the founding vision of delivering cost and power efficient AI processors and a compiler stack that I can truly and proudly say that is a leader in the class of edge AI processors. And because of which we are today one of the few edge AI companies that can run LLMs, we can run vision language models and multimodal AI at the edge, in addition to a large variety of CNNs. So really, I mean, the vision itself didn't change, but there was a transition point, I would say, looking back maybe a couple of years with the advent of ChatGPT. We were one of the first ones to bet that, hey, this thing is going to come to the edge and we need to be ready. So we start to invest heavily in generative AI, and that paid off in a great way for us.
Can you talk in specifics about how the rapid rise of AI has impacted the business opportunities that Kinara.ai was able to nurture?
So we have witnessed tremendous growth of AI over the past decade. Indeed, it's been a rising tide, and this has immensely helped us from going after various sectors, from retail to smart cities, and because they were embracing AI and were looking for efficient edge AI solutions, because clearly GPUs were not the platform of choice for the edge. Now, with the rise of generative AI, we are seeing this opportunity set expand even further into PCs. For example, doing translation, transcription, summarization, and many other features that are now going to be available on your fingertips. And also generating documents, right? Whether it be PowerPoint or Word documents. And then in automotive, having a natural communication with your car, a conscious car, that most people would say, getting rid of all the buttons and being able to converse, having natural language conversations in the car, not ever having to look up your manual, right, if something fails. And industrial and other verticals that I'm super excited about the possibilities, because we are frankly looking at a convergence of vision models, language models, and speech models, all coming into multimodal AI and running, all of them running very efficiently at the edge.
Well, and sometimes living in the world of AI, it feels like we're constantly living in the future. And so, with that being said, you have to have that vision beyond what's done today or what's even going to be done tomorrow. Are there any things within AI that you see coming that maybe other executives are missing?
So there's been both an evolution in the model landscape, because the model landscape clearly impacts our architecture and what we do in our software stack, our silicon architecture and software stack. And clearly there's been an evolution of AI models, and sometimes there's been a step function jump in the past decade. And if you think about it and look at it, we started with convolutional neural networks called CNNs, which were primarily vision and RNNs, which were doing speech and other use cases, and that in and of itself was a huge leap forward going back a decade, right? Now the next big step function jump was generative AI and LLMs that happened a couple of years ago, a few years ago, and clearly there were building blocks that were getting us there, including transformers, vision transformers, and whatnot. Now, what we are beginning to see a convergence of LLMs, vision models, and speech models into multimodal AI. And examples include Llama 4 and also Qwen 2.5 Omni and whatnot, right? And my guess and my thinking right now is that the next leap would be world models that will get us closer to AGI. And clearly, compute and programmability and software have to keep up with these evolutions and the step function jumps. So we keep evolving, and then there's a step function jump. So we'll have to adapt to that step function jump when that happens. But I think right now we are in this evolution mode of taking LLMs, taking CNNs, taking speech models, and combining them into multimodal AI that can run at the edge.
Very cool. That'll be interesting to see that come to fruition. And many in the industry were a little bit surprised, although widely celebrated and applauded was the NXP's acquisition of Kinara. And I, for one, see a very natural fit. And oftentimes, I'm speaking with founders about the investment partners that they want to partner with and take money from, and it having to be the right fit. On your side of the fence, you had many suitors. And why did you feel like NXP was the right suitor, the right company to merge with?
Absolutely, Justin. I also feel that NXP was the right suitor. I'm so happy, that we're going to be part of NXP here very soon. I feel that from many angles, they were the right suitor. Both of us have very complementary products. For example, the i.MX line of processors, we can complement them by increasing the AI compute with our Ara lineup of processors next to them. And from a market standpoint, they bring massive scale, right? They have more than 20,000 customers, and they also have phenomenal distribution channels. And on top of it, they have excellent support, excellent customer support, which they're known for. And as AI and Edge AI become ubiquitous, we can enhance the AI compute on NXP platforms at a very low incremental cost without having to redesign the whole system. So our processors, for example, can sit next to i.MX line of processors that have already been designed into systems and enhance the AI capabilities there. And on top of it, our software can easily integrate into NXP's existing stack, so customers can adopt the solution easily and quickly. But more importantly, as we interacted with NXP over the past year leading up to this acquisition, I got super excited because from a cultural standpoint too, we were so close a match. And we work so well together that I'm so looking forward to it now that, we'll be part of NXP and, we'll make a great team and we'll make a great winning combination. So we are looking forward to winning together with NXP, frankly.
Absolutely. Other than the acquisition, which is obviously a huge milestone, thinking back over the last nine plus years, is there a particular victory or milestone that you and the Kinara.ai team achieved that left you most energized or excited?
Yeah, there were a lot of moments that stood out, but for me personally, I would say, and maybe for a number of the team members as well, I think the joyous moments were when we got the first generation silicon back from the fab. Until then, it was a research. It was research that came out of Stanford by the two founders. And once the silicon came and it started wiggling and started working in systems, that was a great moment because what we knew to be research had been actualized, and we can clearly see it with our eyes, right? Then the next big moment was when we started shipping that product in volume, and when we received our first POs from a large customer, and we started shipping it, and we started seeing it work in customer sockets along with the software. So I think those were pretty big moments for us, personally for me. And I would say the founders as well, and maybe most employees in the company.
Absolutely. And, in contrast to that, Ravi, rarely, actually, I've never heard of a success story in the hardware startup space and deep tech that is just one string of victories after another one. So, really, it's about being able to stay the course amongst a sea of nonstop obstacles that come your way. Is there a particular challenge that you and the team faced that, in hindsight, looking back, you guys overcame and actually made the company stronger?
Sure, Justin. So I have one moment I can think of, or one set of obstacles that we overcame, right? And the lessons that learned that come to my mind are looking back to late 22, early 23. This when ChatGPT first came out, and I was mulling about what this would mean for us and for the rest of the industry, because we are in the AI space. And one of the things that occurred to me was that this cannot be sitting in a cloud in a data center somewhere where people are accessing it over the internet. There has to be a form of this that's gonna make its way to the edge. So I articulated this vision to my team and to my board. And it took a long time for me to convince them that generative AI is going to come to the edge. And nobody had heard of this, of generative AI at the edge. I actually talked to a number of press and analysts, and they were surprised. They were saying, "What, generative AI at the edge?" was the comment I would get. But we stuck with it. I made sure that we invested in that, despite the challenges that I faced within. And I'm glad we went off and did this, because it paid off handsomely. We were the first ones to have stable diffusion supported on our processors. We are on, and also followed by Llama and now VLMs. We are not just talking about it; we are actually demonstrating this publicly. We were there at CES. We were there at Embedded World. The big learning is that while your head's down and you're executing, and in startup, execution is the name of the game. The big learning here is don't lose sight of where the puck is going, and make sure you skate to it.
Well, absolutely. And in order to execute, one of the things that I continually hear, whether it's a C stage startup, an established, late series startup, or even a successful publicly traded company, is the key to execution is having the right people. And it's also something that haunts many executives is trying to get that right talent. Is there a strategy that you've deployed, or the team there has, in being able to attract the top talent, especially when you're a younger company?
Yeah, so I'll split that into two parts. One is attracting top talent, and then B is how and who I hired, right? That's the second part. So attracting top talent in our case was fairly straightforward, because we had the pedigree. The two founders are from Stanford. They've done original work there. They have a PhD under one of the very well-known names, Mark Horowitz. So we could get talent fairly easily from that standpoint. But then, who do we bring on board, right? And this was, for me, a very, very important thing, that we had the right team, right set of people on the bus, because execution, like you mentioned, is the name of the game. So we were looking for people who had prior startup experience, successful startup experience, B, who had high energy, right? This is very, very important, and high positive energy, right, that they bring to the table. And most importantly, a bias for action, right? Because startups are all about speed, both decision making and execution. And how you set what tone you set in the early years, and the momentum you have in the early years, determines what happens, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And clearly, 9 years later, we still have the same DNA, same culture, right? Because we were founded on the right culture of rapid decision making, rapid execution, bias for execution, high energy, and a very positive can-do mindset, right? So we hired execs who had all of those characteristics, not just talking about them, but have demonstrated that in their past jobs and in their career. So that's how we recruited, and this helped us get to our initial milestones fast, and also over the years opened up the gap against competition.
Awesome. But now, as you transition into having a globally recognized name brand parent company, How do you protect that DNA?
So, first of all, I'd mentioned that our cultures are very closely matched, and we saw this during the diligence period going back 1 year, and most recently, we've been having integration conversations. Pleasantly surprised that we are very well aligned with the NXP culture. Just getting back to Kinara's culture, our culture is one of openness, honesty, speed of execution, and an environment that fosters growth, mutual respect, and trust, right? And having interacted with the NXP execs, I can say that we have noticed a lot of similarities from this standpoint as well. And while we will be part of NXP post close, we are expecting that we retain some degree of independence and retain elements, if not all of our culture that made us successful. So, given what I've seen over the last 12 months or so, I have no doubt that this will be true. But let's talk in a year, and I can share more.
Well, we'll do that for sure. And I do want to push on one point: the bias towards action and the pace of execution. That's where a lot of times, once acquisitions occur, there becomes friction because there's natural bureaucracy built into larger companies. Have you done anything or had discussions on how to alleviate that, or have preventative medicine to assure continual fast movement?
Yes, and early on too, we have had those discussions, and the idea is to give as much independence to the Kinara team as possible. We retain our independence, we retain the unique culture that made us successful. So again, hopefully, that's going to be true. And again, we'll talk in a year, and I'll let you know how it's going.
Excellent. And now, if you're to fast forward 5 years from now and you're to look back, what would you like the legacy of the company to be?
Oh, I think if I have to look back, if I have to look back 5 years from now, I would say that I would like Kinara to be able to contribute $1 billion in revenue within NXP, and we want this to be the best acquisition in NXP's history.
Very simply put, and very aspirational. From your perspective, do you envision being the leader of the Kinara team going forward, or do you have plans in the future of potentially starting something else?
At the moment, I'm super excited about the acquisition. We have brought two great products to market as Kinara. What I look forward to doing is scaling them within NXP, using their resources, using their channels, using their customers, and learning a great deal about managing and leading and growing this organization within NXP. That's all that's on my mind right now.
Excellent. Well, Ravi, I really appreciate the time, and I'm going to take you up on that date a year from now. Excited to talk to you then.
For sure. Let's connect again.